All right. Welcome, everyone. It is April 7th, 2023. This is the second Treasury community meeting, the Tangle Treasury. Um, this has been our first week going live. We have Linus and Razor, Finance Goblin on. So, guys, I just want to, let's see here, quickly go over. I just kind of wanted to finish up on the kind of kickoff, which I think I missed just a few things. So let me share my screen real quick. Let's see. All right. And I'm just going to keep it in this mode for now. Let's see here. Okay, cool. That's looking good. So we went over all that stuff. And just to let the community know, I don't think I did mention it. The committee did vote and agree. Linus is the co-lead. So just to give, I don't know if I said it last time, but just to give an idea of the operations on that is that I would basically Linus has all the access rights to everything that I have. The Airtable database, the software front end, and such. And we're also going to do about 1 hour a week so I can teach him basically the flow, how the database works, how the functions are in place, the formulas. I mean, there's a lot going on with that stuff and how it integrates into the software front end website. So that way, and the intention is that as if, God forbid, I was out Easter egg hunting and a rabbit took me out, then Linus can jump in. And if we have funding going on with proposals and grants, we don't want to be in a position where, that 1 in a million risk happens, but the consequence is pretty detrimental, where these projects someone needs to step in and keep it going until the community can elect a new program lead. So that is the idea of that. So we went over conflict of interest, multi-sig. We set up the multi-sig. We got our first payment from the community for the 100,000. We've made a payment to MyDAO through the multi-sig that was set up through Vince Goblin and Cowie. They did a great job for that. And then my MetaMask was having issues. So I believe it was Linus and Cowie and Razor. You guys did that transfer to MyDAO. So that multi-sig is awesome because if one person is down, doesn't mean the process stops, but you still need 3 signatures, so it's all safe. So that was a great process in action. We went over grading metrics. Proposals. Okay, so the review process. We didn't really go over this last meeting, but it's great because we're now up to 4 proposals in, and let's see if I can do this here. 1 second. Just to give the community an idea of how things come in. So when someone wants to submit a grant, they come in, they hit apply now. They're going to get this screen. They enter their submission form, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I want to support the ecosystem and offer this great project. That then is going to come into a email to myself that says, hey, we received a proposal. Please click it and review it. And can't necessarily show that because we don't want to show the actual proposals until they're actually approved, and we don't have one yet. But what it comes up is I basically have that same form, except that it becomes filled out, okay, on my end. And I will see all this information as well. It is in the software website. So I have both of them. And then what I will do is I'll go down and I'll have drop-down menus that I can then assign reviewers. So I'll look at who has a conflict of interest, who doesn't, who's suitable for this, who has the hours for the week. I make these decisions, assign a reviewer, and off we go. That so far has worked pretty good. Once I assign the reviewers, there's automations that then send emails out, alerts out to the reviewers. They pull up their end. They come on either A, they get the same form, but then it has the grading metrics, or they can simply come into this treasury.org and do it all really on there. So it goes from both ways. They've done that. They've graded it. It takes the matrix and it says, hey, we've graded this form. Not only does it say, hey, it has a grade of 14, 15, but then it'll say, okay, this proposal was submitted seeking a tier 2. The reviewers have graded it and they can approve up to tier 2 based on their rating, okay, or tier 3 or tier 4. So that step is, we know that the reviewers have reviewed it, they don't have a conflict of interest, and it shows that what's been submitted, they are allowed to approve that for grant funding. Does that mean it's approved? No, the reviewers will then have to decide, hey, I either approve this or I reject it. One of those forms, the grading was good, but there was some discussion of how we can better manage the milestones, I should say. So it wasn't approved yet. I took the reviewer comments, which were outstanding. I mean, I have to say, the community, you guys did a great job. The community has certainly delegated the right people. Outstanding comments were put, far better than I could come up with. I aggregated those together and from a whole community presented those to the submitter and said, hey, we like the proposal. We just have some concerns about the milestone management. And if you would like to work with a better proposed milestone system, let me know. And then we can go on to this is a tier 2. We can go on to the video interview. That grant receiver agreed to that. And we're going to next week discuss that. And I've discussed with the team a solution forward that they proposed, which then I'll bring to the grant submitter. So I think that grant there is looking good, promising, and we'll see how that goes. So process, I think, is going good on the review and the automations. There's definitely been some tweaks made here and there. How do you guys feel that it's been going so far?
Yeah, very good, just as you described. Process so far super fluent, and it also brought up some interesting discussions that we maybe can come at some point, and looks good so far. I'm happy.
Good. How about yourself, Razor?
And I also really like that you really got the management stuff nailed down. So you're keeping like the organizational and administrative tasks far away from us, which is which I really like, because this way we can just focus down on the stuff that we need to review, the stuff that we need to do. We can go in and go out. Quick engagement, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And we'll definitely spend a little more time as these things come up and we refine the process. There's been some really good discussions, which is awesome. It's always interesting when we think of everything that could be done. Like, Linus, you've been there for the last 2 years, and then you put it in process and you're like, wow, didn't even think of that, but that's how way things go. And for that, it was actually Razor brought, it kind of made me think that we can do a lesson learned tracker. So I included in sort of the administration side of a tracker where we'll see a lesson learned number. We can then talk about the issue or the concern we have, the impact that has on the Treasury, the rating of that impact, and a recommendation for improvement. And this way, what we do, and I just built this last night, so I have to refine it a bit, but what that does is essentially it's a lesson learned. And me coming from project management, I feel like one of the biggest shortfalls that companies do is you kick off a project, you run that project, and issues happen. I mean, that's standard. And then the best time to analyze something is in the heat of the moment. And you say, oh, this is the impact. Okay, this is the solution that we could have. Let's not have to deal with this lesson that we learned again. But after the project is completed, I would say 99% of the chance no one does a lesson learned meeting and no one implements those solutions that they had at the time, and you end up committing all those not want to say mistakes, but inefficient processes again. So I think for us, and I will probably integrate that somehow into the community Thursday meetings, to where we can actually learn how this process, how this framework is going, and keep track of that, and then come up and then basically improve all of this for the ongoing times. So really awesome. Really, the team is doing such a great job. Okay, so I want to do quickly. So we went over all of this. I just wanted to touch base. I think really the only thing that I didn't go over. Okay, so I just wanted to go over, we talked about how a reviewer may be removed, which was the conflict of interest. And I just wanted to touch that point because I think they're important for all of us to understand. Let's see. Okay, it's kind of part of changes the framework. So again, we kind of mentioned, but this is the framework, and the following points are open to changes by all community members via the official Shimmer governance process, which is at phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So the community has delegated us to represent them and run this treasury, but we have to understand that they are ultimately our boss. They are, they're the big swinging schlong that we have to, follow. And so they have the ability, if for whatever reason they were unhappy or unsatisfied with a grant reviewer or myself, the program lead, then through a governance vote, they could vote to replace or remove us. They could also vote to terminate or shut down the treasury. And after our year, if we don't get shut down, they could also vote to extend it. And they could also vote to add additional funding. So if we, my goal is to best manage the funding so that it spreads throughout the entire year. I don't want us to all spend it all in one first quarter that we go live. And that's not only that I think it's good to have constant projects going, because that's always good for the ecosystem, and then projects completing, which will be going live on a consistent basis, but also that's also, to me, a risk management of the price. If we were to, basically spend all our SMR now, who knows, the price could 100x by third quarter. At the same time, if the price does 100x and we spend it all, or, you don't want to try to play the market. But just wanted to show that basically the community has the overall power in this system, that we have to do our best, and we are doing our best, and we have to keep that up going forward. And part of that, I think, in quarterly basis, I know Digital Rob, we talked about this in the when we were doing the speed fund, or I can't remember what we call it. It was going to be the interim fund. And we talked about basically how we could connect with the community and get maybe like questionnaires and reviews and a consensus of, hey guys, we're your delegates, but how are we doing? How do you think we're doing? And we will be looking for community communication at that time, because we're here to represent basically the community. We're not, we great, we have expertise, but in the end, we're just an extension of the community here. And I think the only other thing that a community member could be removed, if not the conflict of interest, was just essentially that we're not following this framework. But of course, someone would reach out to us, whether it be me, or if it's me not following the framework, someone reach out to me to say, hey, it seems like you're not following the framework. Was there a reason you took that? If not, and if we continue not following this framework, then of course we would have to have a meeting and potentially remove that member from the committee. Other than that, I think those are just the points that I think I forgot to get the other day, and I wanted to really cover. Yeah. Okay. Other things that, I don't know if we went over tasks ahead, but the main important thing again was the Marshall Islands. We did send payment out to that, so that's great. That was the biggest lead time. They needed to get payment. Fairness on them. Someone's not going to work unless they have the payment in. But we have that in. The operating agreement is complete. So we should be hearing next week what that schedule looks like. And then we're working on the KPIs, the quarterly reports. I signed the contract with Paulo, and we'll be making, I got his invoice, so we'll be making payment on the 16th when we do our payments. And then we need to work on the exchange process. I've reached out to a few community members that can maybe start working with and discussing, that can help me, branch out and develop partnerships. I think that's very important to us. And then technical consultants. So this is interesting. Like, I had this discussion on last Thursday, and about, what if the Treasury, what if the website needs something? How can we pseudo put a project request out there, a proposal request? And Philo and the community governance meeting suggested that, hey, we can come to them and say, kind of, here, we're looking for this, we need this, and maybe they can either find that individual and then submit a proposal and we can fund it. That process hasn't been fully completed yet on how we do that. But one thing that came up was with our multi-sig wallet, I thought it was very important that we know if any transactions go in or out. So I reached out to Antonio, who put me in contact with Pathin, and he is creating a bot that will allow to watch the community Gnosis wallet. And we have a GitHub now, okay? So this essentially is our operation agreement with the exhibit B and C. I'm also working on doing a README section there that Philo is reviewing, and I've put a pull request in that to update that. And then Pathin is going to put that bot up here, and it's all going to be open source. So this will be our GitHub, where if we are doing implementations like this, anything with the Treasury will be public, will be visible, particularly on the operation agreement, which governs the Treasury. There's rules in place that it must have a reviewer for any pull request. Nothing can be changed on these documents without proper controls. So that kind of covers it. I think we're doing really good. Again, we've got our fourth. Let me stop sharing here. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'll leave that going. We got our fourth proposal in today, which is good. I have to vet that. I mean, we're really moving, and I appreciate the community bringing it in. You guys are doing a great job reviewing them. And let me go over. So for the community, I'm trying to just kind of show kind of where we're at. So I put this project page here. We see our grant submissions. One thing I need to try to work is create an automation, because we don't have anything yet where if someone submits a grant, they know what identifier is that, like Tangle Community Treasury -3. So I'm going to try to create an automation that says, hey, we've received it. It's under review. You can't kind of see it in the website yet, but we could, let's say, click here, and we can see the process of where it's going. We've scanned the attachments, clean files. I've loaded them back up, so there's no malware or anything. And that's per the recommendation of the community member. I'll vet the proposal. I add it to our Discord channel. I assign reviewers, blah, 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 right? What's left is that we complete grant interview and agree on milestone deliverables, and then we as a team can make a decision to accept or reject the proposal. So we'll have all the proposals here kind of when they come in, and then also basically where we're at in that process of approving or not approving that proposal. I haven't vetted number 4 yet at all, so it's not in the project tracker. We also have kind of the other stuff where we have the community treasury. You can come in here and look at, you know, where we're at here and what kind of tasks we need to complete. So this one is we create and test a Gnosis wallet. We've completed all that. And we still need to make payments to Paulo and cover the early loans. Hello, how is it going?
Good. Sorry, I'm late. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Marshall my DAO and Marshall Island creation. We still need to create privacy policy, KYC AML, terms of agreement for grant receivers, review privacy policy review, Tangle, LLC personnel contract. But we're moving along pretty good. This schedule is just a rough estimate. That's not anything in stone yet, because I need to get that time frame from my DAO before I can adjust that. And then we have here, which is also really non-treasury, but the governance framework. And as Philo talked with smart contracts, that's going to become integrated into governance. So it's trying to get sort of a layout on that as best we can. And when we maybe start moving in that direction, when the community governance group moves in that direction and starts getting kind of decent milestones that we could articulate, we can probably update that. And then I might throw in just some of my own to-dos. So if anyone in the community kind of wants to see what proposals are in there and where we're at in the proposals, you can certainly see that. We don't have any of the personal information in here. So anyone submitting a grant can know that. And then as they are either approved or rejected, they will be archived out of here. These are only for in progress project tasks. All right, let's see, 1 second here. Oh, and just as a transparency aspect for the community to understand. So, you know, I was thinking as a program lead, they're pretty independent, but I want some accountability in place. So again, Linus has access to this, and this is basically where I'm logging all my times. So, you know, 4/6 at 1300 to 1600 at 3 to 4 p.m. I did final checks on current proposal status, updated project tracking table and web page, assessed committee completed hours, etc., etc. That's all my times. That's all my actions for the week. And then it gets aggregated here that I can see where I'm at, that I'm meeting my 40 hours a week, which I'll probably end up doing a lot more. But this also is good where, again, if that Easter bunny takes me out, Linus can come in here, and if he knows there was communication with someone, he can kind of come and see that log and where things are at. Okay. And Linus always has access to this. And I think what we'll do when I submit my invoices in some way, maybe Linus will have to sign off on those. But just to give the community, hey, yes, I'm independent, but I still have accountability. You know, I want to have that in this process. Okay, so we did the kickoff meeting. We added agenda. We did accept Paulo's invoice, and we're working on that. All right. So there we go. We are up to date on that. Yeah, I think just meeting wise, I'm going to close my screen here. Yeah, I think two things. I think one, I think something we could talk about is how we, like, what kind of KPIs we can have for ourselves in the treasury, and kind of like that, you know, aspect of KPIs for marketing proposals. I think marketing proposals are very, you know, I'm not a marketer, and out to the community, if anyone's like a marketing specialist and wants to just spend an hour with me or the team to kind of give their basis of what we should look at, what we shouldn't look at, I would absolutely really appreciate it. We would really appreciate it. Some of the initial proposals we look up or reviewed made us think that, is there a way to create a performance-based milestone system? So, such as a base rate. Let's say someone, just for example, put in a proposal for $1,000 for a project, a marketing gig, and that was, one milestone, one deliverable, one deal. But we thought more like, what if there's a base rate to cover the cost of doing that? So let's say $500 split in half. And then the second $500 would be issued upon certain performance metrics that get met. So, for instance, if it was something online like content material, how many clicks did it get? How many views did it get? Length of time, etc. What those numbers are, I don't know. That would have to be discussion with the particular project and the person. Now, let's say we went to a billboard in Times Square, how to kind of quantify the success of that project. So I think those are the things that we not only need to think of for the committee to judge the committee success, but also how we do that with the proposal success. I think just another one Philo put out there on Twitter or no, in the Discord, it was like another one of the, it's funny, it's like these treasuries are now been going for a long time, and I always feel like time tells all truths, meaning that once they've been going enough time, at first things might be obscure and people don't really see what's going on. Give it enough time, people start pulling out. So Kusama spent I think a very big portion of their treasury on many ridiculous stuff. So and I tweeted about it, and I want to say it again publicly. These treasuries have hundreds of millions of dollars. They have the ability to fund sign language videos and stuff like that. We have literally like 2 million for the year. It's 7 million in total treasury. Like we do not have the opportunity to take such a risk, and the committee is the reviewers are acting very cautiously, which I think is good. And we don't want to be aggressive right yet until we know some of these things. How are we going to judge the success of these projects? The better that we get on that, the more aggressive we can while maintaining lower risk mitigation, right? So it's just in the beginning, and just want to put out there, just because someone applies and may not get approved, we're always going to give you summary of how you can improve your proposal. And you can surely reapply in the future. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts, as best not discussing specifics of proposals or naming proposals, on like how to quantify success matrix for ourselves and the proposals?
Well, for the individual proposals, the success metrics, they can vary quite a lot between what is proposed there, right? Is it marketing? Is it open source code? Is it a certain app? It's actually a very interesting question. What are the success metrics for this treasury? Because, I mean, our success is in the end, like, it's defined by the success of the funded project. So it's like, it's the sum of the success of the funded projects, maybe minus unsuccessful projects, but it's hard to get an easy number or an easy evaluation on that.
Well, I like that. I like that. I mean, of course, the overall success is going to be a aggregation of different variables, but that variable of, how many projects were approved and how many projects were a success. And, where maybe, Polkadot Treasury has a 50% success rate, hopefully we have a higher, in the 70 to 90% success rate. And then that certainly is a quantifiable number, again, if you can quantify the success of the project, but that we could use in comparison to other market treasuries. Write that down. What else we got?
Yeah. Well, then next, the problem. The problem kind of is with I mean, we should also probably think about how to best structure it. I mean, like when we define the KPI for the treasury, it's like we also have to think about longevity of it, because let's, for example, say we get 100 marketing proposals and only one startup that's like a Web3 startup. We cannot. We should somehow also think about how we limit it. Like, so let's not just to find like some way how to control for that. Because if we blow everything on marketing, not saying that we do, but I mean, there's the possibility. And also, as a comment to the other thing, I mean, in this kind of VC investing, startup granting, whatever style, there can also be like a very very long time before we actually do see a return of investment. So, for example, if we were to incubate something, some project that with us is able to develop, and it maybe takes like 1.5 years for them to flourish, it's also that we kind of have to keep track of that, and also think about all of the nuances in that. But yeah, I mean, we're still just starting out, and let's see how it goes.
I like that in the and I think the success of a project can be defined in probably two ways. One simple way, saying they supplied milestones, they supplied deliverables, and they completed them. As a comparison, someone supplies 5 milestones, and at milestone 3 they bankrupt themselves, or they go so over schedule that they run out of funding and they say, guys, really sorry, thanks, we didn't screw up, but we tried and we just didn't succeed. That clearly would not be a success. Versus, you're right, how long do we follow a project to see if their effect on the ecosystem is successful or not? And that's definitely something to be kind of difficult to be quantifiable. I know we're one time when I was talking, well, they were doing a Twitter space, the what the hell are they? The crazy guys, the Magic Meme Money crew, and their ADA, and they did sort of like an NFT collaboration. And I thought it was really interesting because I asked them, especially the ADA crew, who they've done this with other protocols, how do you quantify that metrics? And they have to reach out to him again, because they had said that by issuing the NFTs, essentially they're able to see who is coming from one protocol to the other protocol, to kind of really quantify to a certain extent, how much growth that you're getting from one ecosystem to the other. So, and that's NFTs for PFP type and stuff. But I wonder if there's somehow the more utilistic NFT type that can just simply be a simple badge or something, that somehow we can help quantify that assessment, if it's possible. I'm just throwing thoughts out there. It may not even be possible, but something to certainly think about at that aspect. I like the diversify of funding categories. And Linus, didn't we talk about this throughout the years? Like, should we say, hey, 20% should be this and 10% should be that? And we kind of went against that, but more left it up to be a freer approach.
Yes, the topic, it was discussed a little bit every now and then, but we never, as you just said, we didn't decide on making a very clear budget distribution plan, or something that defines where exactly what portion of the budget should go. It could be interesting to give out maybe something like a recommendation every now and then. What, for example, if we have 100 marketing proposals but just one startup or one app, then maybe it would be okay and appropriate if we, as the Treasury Committee, give out a recommendation saying, currently we have really a lot of marketing proposals, but we would prefer, I don't know, more open source developer tools
Mm-hmm.
in the next time, without saying that any proposal is really on an advantage or disadvantage. But as a direction, could be helpful, I guess.
Yeah, no, I like that. I really like that. And I think, I think very easily these, as we are categorizing the proposals as they come in, as they're approved, will be very easily to say, hey, out of 5, 10% are marketing and 90% are developer tools. So we're actually looking for this, and we could start maybe getting graphs in and visual graphs to make really easy and to show, hey, where we're lacking, and hey, we kind of want to boost this up a little bit. And I think it's not only just good to be diversified in support of across the ecosystem, but again, as we get these success matrix, as we find these and we can judge them, we may find, shit, marketing brings in a crap load to the ecosystem and boosts it. Okay, let's hammer it 80%. We may find out, okay, we've done all this in marketing and we haven't fucking gotten crap out of it. Okay, time to make a change now, rather than getting stuck in one rut and not having that data, and then we're repeating the same mistake again and we're getting no return. Again, we're a small treasury. We have to get returns on these grants. That is the whole point. The community approved this and we want this, is ultimately we need to grow the ecosystem, which is then going to in turn grow the treasury, which is then going to create a circular effect where you keep growing the ecosystem, keep growing the treasury. So I like it. So yeah, maybe I'll work on kind of how we can track that data. I'll put out there, I mean, man, it's getting busy. So, if anyone in the community hears these videos and is like, you know what, I could do those graphs pretty good. I can probably, integrate that into your guys' website. By all means, reach out to us, reach out to Discord Treasury. You could easily say, is this something you're looking for? And then we would say, yeah, absolutely. That would help us. And you can submit a proposal. Okay.
How is it actually when and if we fund the project? Are we also like acting as kind of VCs, where we would also be able to say, hey, yeah, you can get it, but we could also get an allocation for the treasury of this funded project if they have a token, for example?
Yeah. On the form, we currently, a project can stipulate that they want to give 5% tokens to us, 1% tokens to us, 2% token to us. And it would give them extra weight in the grading matrix, as in the number of what the tier they can be approved. Does that mean we would prioritize the project over another? No. But we would certainly appreciate the treasury that, grant receivers can give back to the community. I definitely think that is something important. That is something that we've talked about over the years, that we ultimately, the long-term vision is to create a self-filling treasury. I don't think we're there right now to come up with those systems, but I mean, if a project wants to do that, it's certainly going to show how committed they are to the community as well as their reputation. But yeah, ultimately, they have that option in the proposal form. And I hope down the future, the community supports allowing some freedom of creativity from us as a team to say, hey, we've been doing this for 6 months. We've been doing this for a year and you've approved another year. We'd like to kind of be able to try some stuff and implement it. I think that would be a good idea. I think that's a long-term kind of vision approach on that one. So cool. Another thing that came up was, we talked about in Thursday's meeting, So I've reached out to some service providers of things that we're gonna service providers that we're gonna need for the Treasury to operate, and I'm getting quotes from I try to do 3 or 4, regardless if I know someone's good or someone tells me they're the best to go with. It's always good practice to get multiple quotes. So I found it interesting because I reached out to 3 service providers for this particular service. One was high, they were a Web3. One was medium, they were a Web3. And then one was a Web2 and was cheap, I should say cheaper. And I put it out on Twitter to say, should we spend extra and incur extra cost to support Web3? And both on Twitter and the Thursday governance meeting basically concluded that, if we're talking $3,000, $4,000 per year, yeah, we should probably support Web3. Web3 is never going to grow if DAOs and organizations don't use them. And we are a Web3 DAO. And unfortunately, right now, the Web3 market share is so small that the customer supply, your profit margin is just not going to be what it is compared to a Web2 that has, 7 million customers versus 5,000 customers. It's the economies of scales when it comes to economics. So my take from it was like, if it's 5,000 and under for the year, let's spend that cost to show that we're there. But if we're talking 30,000, well, we're a small treasury. If we get up to the 100 millions, throw that 30,000 around. We got this. So I also, I think Razor, what was it? What was the invoicing one you suggested?
This request network or request finance was called.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool, and I actually had them reach out to me and gave me a demo, and I'm gonna look for a couple more. But I thought that was really cool because for the community, our current process is, come the 16th, I want to try to at least batch the time that we're doing multi-sig transfers. Like we could be doing 15 transfers and you have to do one at a time. I mean, we could be talking about 2 hours with 3 people. That's a pretty high cost. So what I'm going to look at is these Web3 platforms that essentially, and this was interesting. What I don't like is you have one service here. You got to go to this website. You got to go to that website. You got to go all over the place. I really like having one single website like tangletreasury.org. They actually said that they believe through their API integrations that, let's say there's an expense form or a proposal payout form that we fill out, you put in your email, you put in your receiving address, and then it automatically sends a link to the receiver or the service provider, I believe. So it works both ways for when we're paying out to receivers or we're paying out bills. It creates those invoices within the Web3 platform, and then we can batch approve them and batch send them. So rather, that's going to cut the time down hugely. So what I want to look at is how much time are we going to currently spend doing these transactions versus the monthly costs. Of course, nothing's for free, right? If the monthly cost of this provider is less than or equal, or at least close to in the beginning, what we're spending, it's not going to only allow us more time to review, it's going to save us costs. But as well as you can always download CSV files, which shows all the transactions, all the gas fees. It's going to make accounting a lot easier on that sense too. So just out there, I like that. I like it getting more Web3 into our process. Again, same thing out to the community. That's our direction. If you think you have a solution for that, or you're looking to build a solution, hey, give a shout out to the community, to the Treasury. So yeah, I think the important thing is, and even if you guys like Razor, you're in a lot of Web3 places, like, if as long as we can somehow connect it to the website, so that's the central point, and then we go from there and come back to there, I think that's really great. But yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I didn't know that they like I only use it for doing like my freelancer invoicing,
Yeah.
just essentially putting out my ERC20 address and everything on there, and then just throw it out. But I actually didn't know that the product suite offers this, let's say, this kind of advanced stuff where you have like this multi-sig, and I mean, of course, it scales. You just put the address. Then yeah, I mean, if they offer this, it should be possible to integrate with it, and also I mean, there would need to be some front-end development work involved to also put it on our website. But I mean, this would be very cool. Like, it's just a Web3 version where you connect with your MetaMask, whatever, and then you just have it for this subset, for example, of batching transactions. Yeah, I mean, we can look into it. I actually will also take a look into it, how we can maybe use it for the treasury. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna reach out to DBank. I think that's another one. So again, I'm gonna try to look at 3 or 4, but I think that's a good long-term vision of how can we, put the treasury in a direction that we're moving to operate in fully Web3, which is cool. Also a note, let me see, I think it was one second. IOTA Pioneers, he's the one that originally suggested of, hey, you're gonna have attachments on that web page. We need to protect that, because if some malicious malware or Trojan horses get in, that could, spread throughout the community. So he offered some suggestions of, one, the proposals that are submitted by the submitter aren't the proposals that the reviewers see or the community would download, and to use Bitdefender and then scan everything. So I've set that process in place, as well as I ensured that our security is live going with the web host domain, that all malware is scanned in real time for attachments, as well as, so I have now 2 columns. So when someone puts in the database the attachment, that comes in 1 column. When I vet the proposal, I'll actually download that attachment. I put it in the web folder for our treasury that Linus has access to as well. I then scan that with the antivirus. Once it's scanned, I rename it with the brand ID, TCT dash whatever, and then I put, scanned on this state. And then that goes into a second column, and the front end website is actually pulling the attachments from the second column, not the first column. So anyone that downloads a PDF or opens a PDF from the Treasury website, once we get approved proposals, the community will be able to see them. Just know that they will have been scanned and then re-put up. So we have those structures in place, protective measures in place. So yeah.
That's
So
pretty cool,
other than that, how you guys feeling so far?
Very good. And if you're asking if we have one more topic or something to talk about, I would have one.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned it before in our private and also group chat. So 2 projects already asked me how rigid it is when they submit a proposal. For example, a project comes in and they want a certain amount of money, and they promise to deliver 3 milestones. What if this, because our treasury is a little bit limited, to be honest, we like the proposal, it's a good idea and good team and so forth, but the amount they ask for is too much for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is it then possible that we come to a conclusion and negotiate with them? For example, they get a smaller amount, but only need to deliver 2 of the 3 milestones. And actually, maybe more generally, if there's just generally playroom to renegotiate some details of a proposal, if it's generally good, but it's not quite fitting, will it just be rejected, or is there negotiation happening afterwards too?
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I'm glad you brought it up, and it started our discussion on this aspect. And I think, you know, to let the community know, like, we essentially are wanting to develop a relationship here. Like, this isn't just you submit, we don't talk to you. You either get an email to say, hey, let's go, here's some money, or we what do they call it now? Ghost, we ghost you and we just don't talk to you. I think, this is an evolving process, and, we are here for the community. So if someone submits a proposal, that's the relationship we're building. We have a communication link. Just to give an idea to the community of how that goes right now. Again, all reviewers are always open to discuss things with the community. You can always come to the Discord channel and Twitter. But aside from that, when a proposal comes in, I'll assign reviewers and they will review that. And then I will take their review comments, basically put it together as one, and it's coming from the committee back. And sometimes, even though there's 2 reviewers, we still talk about it as a committee. So I'm going to let you know, one, hey, we either love this and approve it, or we like this, but we're unsure of this. And that's a relationship discussion we're then having at that point. We always want to support and aid any grant submitter to help what we think they could do to make their proposal, make your proposal great again. So yes, we certainly have that discussion. So if we don't have the actual, let's say, funds for that quarter, or that whatever at that time, then we can certainly discuss with them and say, hey, we really want to support this, but we'd rather break this proposal up. We kind of either want to see some solid deliverable, not just a milestone deliverable, but like a completion deliverable at this point, and then see you submit another proposal after that. Or let's put this milestone in this quarter and let's spread that milestone out to the second quarter. We ultimately want to work with the community the best we can while managing managing the treasury. Again, focusing on how we quantify and how we evaluate the success of these projects is going to help us better as we go on, review grants, as well as discuss hey, we've seen that these grants in these categories are really successful when they put this process in place. We see you don't have this process in place. Let's put that in place. So, if anyone's struggling at the moment, it's just the more time we have, the better, more efficient things are going to become and better for the grant. But absolutely, we can have that discussion, and we can, discuss and change their proposal so it fits with the reviewers so that they would approve it. Any other comments out there? Cool. Well, let's see. Was there anything else? Yeah, I think this is the first week kickoff. It's going really good. The process is being refined out. Really glad to see these grants coming in. I'm glad that there's 4 and not 40, because that would be a little intense. So ability to help us work out our bugs and our processes. Again, I want to reiterate, and I'll probably reiterate throughout the month, that, there's probably going to be longer times discussing review proposals for the team. There's going to be longer discussions, maybe a few more meetings in the beginning till we get the process going and can create it a little bit more efficient. I'm also seeing, where we don't need the whole team interviewing on a tier 2 project. I can do that, my cost is a fixed cost versus, the reviewers being a variable cost. We want to kind of keep their costs to reviewing the proposals. But we're just finding that process out. So if the community sees, some of the costs at the end of the day, which, at the end of the month, just know that as this time goes on, those should be going down. If they're not, then we're not actually being a successful, that could be one of our success KPI metrics, is that, our, how can you say it? Yeah, we'll have to think about that. Like time spent reviewing or more time spent on discussion, because really the discussion should start lessening as we come, as we progress. And we should of probably time of proposal, don't have to get too crazy on that, but we should see that come down over the first couple of months. After that, we don't need to be cracking whips on everyone and having countdown timers on the wall. but good. So I think from that, like a takeaway is really focusing on the KPIs, focus on how we can develop success matrix for both the committee and the individual projects, the grants, as well as, to the community. We're looking to be a Web3 DAO. So if you out there have suggestions on how we can do that through invoicing, time tracking, but that it's coming to the website. We don't have to create another website and be bouncing all around. I think that's kind of things that are popping up, things that I'll be looking at, and I'll be getting different proposals from as we go forward. Another thing we talked about, which I think is a great idea, is diversifying, and that's maybe something to think about, because I think we have several, like 20 different, really grand categories, but maybe we could break those down into like 4 or 5. Maybe let's think of that, and over the next week and next time we can talk in a meeting. So if we could say, okay, marketing covers these 5 categories that we have, dev integrate, DevOps covers these 5, whatever, we go from there. Because if we could pull that down to sort of like 5 categories that those categories fit in, and maybe I'll post all the categories in the in our Discord server. I think then that way we can start looking at, okay, 70% of our funding is going to X, and 20% is going to Z, and whatever 10% is going to Y. And then we could start looking at, hey, Q2, we want to start to balance this out a little bit, or we're seeing a lot of success from this category, we want to focus on this in Q2 or Q3. Does that sound like a good kind of direction, vision? I'll take silence as a yes. We got Razor nodding, which is good, nodding and smiling. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. To the community out there, and to you guys as well, happy Easter if you're celebrating Easter. If you're not, enjoy your weekend. Next Tuesday, we're going to cancel our meeting because we're going to have a growth committee meeting with the great Dominic Schneider, and he's pretty damn busy. So we want to take any free moment he has to get that kickoff going. So I'll discuss offline when we can get the next meeting. Real quick, do you guys want to do like more of a Discord front stage in the IOTA Discord server? We'll still record it, we'll still put it up on YouTube, but maybe to get a little community interaction.
Well, I'm cool with
why
that.
not?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Maybe not on a weekly regular basis, this could be too much, but maybe as a specific AMA event.
Maybe
Just
like,
so we stir up enough attention for one specific event, right? That we have enough people coming in with enough questions.
like
Yeah.
once a month type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, for example.
Okay, perfect. No, I like it. Let's do once a month AMAs with the committee. Let me write that down. And maybe next week we'll just do a non-recorded private meeting, because I think it's, and I'm going to be transparent with the community, I think it's really important that we want to maintain transparency with the community, but you know, there are some things we need our moments where we can just freely discuss. But for sure, the whole process, nothing is hidden. So cool. I'm going to write that down. AMA, maybe we can try to plan that for next week. We'll schedule that offline. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be really good. I think by that time, we'll hopefully have an approved grant and several more grants in the pipeline. Great idea.
Maybe just one takeaway for the growth committee. Like what I found, I found the matrix, the grading matrix, especially when you think about growing the ecosystem from a marketing perspective, kind of actually doing more harm than good. So for example, if you grade something if you look into some marketing, you want to get some exposure from the outside that's coming inside, but like the first requirement is like, it's exclusively relevant to Shimmer. Like if you have somebody who specializes in that, or like who is like already inside the ecosystem, it feels kind of counterintuitive to give that like a positive score. It should actually be like a negative way.
Negative.
Not negative. I mean like it's
no.
really
But a higher score given to when they're actually saying, "Hey, I actually want to bridge two ecosystems together." You know, as long as it's involving Shimmer ecosystem, I'll add that to the lessons learned kind of and bring that up in the Thursday's meeting. I 100% agree with that, actually. And I think that's just something that slipped by that we missed, you know, during the planning days, but that we see now during the operating phase. So great comment. I'm going to write that down. Cool. All right. Well, happy Easter, happy weekend, everyone. And hope you enjoyed it, and keep sending your proposals in. And again, as always, reach out to us in Discord if you have any question. Reach out to the reviewers, reach out to me, reach out on Twitter, and look out for the coming AMA. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Happy Easter.
And bye, everyone.